searching this morning for a suspect and also working to identify a motive in the shooting. A 6-year-old child from Milwaukee is dead from suspected child abuse. Police have a 33-year-old woman in custody in connection to the child's death. It is not known what relationship the woman has to the victim. And Wisconsin's unemployment numbers are down.
Governor Tony Evers declared 2024 the year of the worker, and the Badger State is seeing record highs for employment this summer. The latest Bureau of Labor Statistics data shows Wisconsin's seasonally adjusted unemployment rate was 2.9% in June. That's more than a full percentage point below the national unemployment rate of 4.1%. The total number of people employed in Wisconsin also hit a new high, over 3,048,000 non-farm jobs. Jessica Gatso, WTMJ News.
Time for news about your money. The WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. At this hour, the Dow was down 43 points to 40,244, while the NASDAQ has some nice gains this morning, up 209 points to 17,935. The S&P 500, meanwhile, also up nicely, up 33 to 5,538. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Sports, traffic, and weather coming up next. Citing Unlimited, WTMJ News Times 9:04.
This report sponsored by Mr. Holland's Heating and Air Conditioning. Visit MrHollandsHeatingandAir.com.
What's great about America? Football, free refills, and pizza with cheese baked into the crust. You know what else is great about America? Being who we want to be, living where we want to live, and choosing who we want to do business with. That, my friend, is sweet, sweet freedom. So, Mr. Holland's Home Services is celebrating the month of the free with a deal that you can only get in the good old USA. Through July, purchase a fully warranted, complete comfort system, and Mr. Holland's crew will install a brand new water heater at no extra cost. In other words, it's free. And speaking of free, Mr. Holland's Home Services is offering interest-free financing with approved credit. Declare your independence from oppressive heat and frigid showers. Call today to secure your free water heater with the purchase of a new comfort system. 866-992-1717. Or visit MrHollandsHomeservices.com. If you're ready to party like it's 1776, we can help.
All you have is one chance after an accident, one decision on who to call, one shot to get the help you need. Don't waste it on the one offer you get from your insurance company. Make the one call to Gruber Law Offices. It's the only one you'll need to make. Call us today. Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
Get the beat of the Bucks straight from a fan favorite and Bucks legend.
Welcome to the fantastic voyage. Marcus Johnson, the captain of this vessel.
Tap into Here District with Marcus Johnson, a Bucks Plus audio production.
My first mate, Chris Johnson, the only father and son tandem.
Your weekly pulse on the Milwaukee Bucks and conversations with the biggest names in basketball. This week, Marcus and Chris talk about the happenings in Vegas for the Bucks at NBA Summer League. Find Here District now on Bucks.com/plus, the Bucks app, or wherever you get your podcast.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call, That's All Sports Desk. The Packers opening up training camp today in Green Bay. The Brewers have a 3-game series starting today in Wrigley Field against the Cubs. Coverage starts with Brewers warm-up at 6 tonight on WTMJ. And LeBron James has been named the male flag bearer for Team USA at this Friday's Olympics opening ceremony in Paris. Let's check the roads. Your WTMJ Johnson & Sons paving time saver traffic. Our slow spots right now, the usual suspects, 43 north from about North Avenue up to looks like Hampton. You'll be running a bit slow through that construction. And then south on 43 from Hampton to about Center Street as well. 894 west from 27th Street. Over to Forest Home, you'll be running a few extra minutes there. And it's a bit slow right now, 94 east from about Hawley Road through the Stadium Interchange to about 35th Street.
Traffic is sponsored by Ken Michaels Furniture in Brookfield, Greenfield, or downtown Milwaukee. Milwaukee Mattress, where top-quality mattresses are priced hundreds less than premium national mattress brands. Found exclusively at Ken Michaels Furniture in Brookfield, Greenfield, and downtown Milwaukee.
The WTMJ 5-day forecast for your Monday, mostly sunny. Today, we'll see a low chance for some pop-up inland showers and a high around 80. Clear tonight and down to 66. Better rain chance on Tuesday. Showers and some thunderstorms possible, a high of 83. Early rain possible on Wednesday, then partly cloudy and 77. Nice end to the week. Thursday and Friday, mostly sunny. Highs in the mid to upper 70s. Right now in Madison, partly sunny and 67 degrees. In Green Bay, sun and 64. Waukesha checking in at 64 and sunny. And in Milwaukee, right now we've got 68 degrees and mostly sunny skies. I'm Adam Roberts, Siding Unlimited, WTMJ News Times 9:08.
Good morning, Wisconsin. So let's pour that coffee and talk to some experts about what's going on in Milwaukee, Madison, Washington, and beyond. Broadcasting live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue in beautiful downtown Milwaukee. It's the Political Power Hour on WTMJ. In for Steve Scafidi, here's Tracy Johnson.
Should we talk about the government?
Good morning, Wisconsin. Great to be with you. I think this is the first day back for everyone in the WTMJ studios, and we are joined by political director for WISN, Matt Smith. It's a big week here, and where do we begin, right?
There's nothing to talk about, so we might as well just go home on this Monday morning, right?
So what did you do over the weekend? Just kidding. We don't have time to discuss that, right? We've got the RNC to recap. We've got a big House committee hearing with Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle. But let's start here.
Yeah.
Biden drops out of the race, man. You had your show 9 o'clock yesterday morning. You talked to a Biden spokesperson. They said, we're all in. Then 4 hours later, he drops out. And you let me just say this for anybody listening at home. You had another show at 11 p.m. last night, and you had updated everything.
So upfront rebroadcasts at 11 p.m. here in Milwaukee. And typically on most days, it can be the same show that airs at 9 a.m., right? Such dramatic changes that happened yesterday with the bombshell that came out. What was it, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon when we first saw the alerts coming out on social media? And listen, the reporting behind the scenes that we're seeing come to light this morning is that really no one knew this was coming. There were a few people incredibly close to President Biden who he was talking with late Saturday night into Sunday morning. There were staffers who just minutes before the social media post went out. And then there were a ton of staffers and campaign staff who literally learned of this news on social media when he put it out. Because you're in until you're not, right, in terms of perception. But man, has it been an incredible 12 hours.
Well, and President Biden did say, nobody's going to make this decision but me. But we have really seen that this was a lot of pressure, and he had really no choice.
It was. Listen, so just, in the last 72 hours, by midweek last week, we saw this trickle of top Democratic lawmakers finally coming out and saying, listen, you've got to go. Congressman Mark Pocan was the first in Wisconsin's delegation on Friday to say it's time to go. And it was just this slow and steady buildup of now this very public pressure for him to drop out.
And you have some audio of that interview with Mark Pocan.
Yeah, we talked with Mark Pocan last evening after all of this happened. We can take a listen to that.
Do you anticipate any Democrats challenging her or looking to run as well for president?
I don't know. I mean, it's going to be some sort of a process that none of us have ever been through. This is kind of going through history together. But I would imagine that most people would say, one, she's been a tremendous vice president, and it's her turn to move forward on this would make the most sense. But two, 3 or 4 weeks to run a presidential campaign is probably pretty difficult. And I don't know if people want to put their futures on the line for that.
Have you heard anything from the DNC or top Democrats about, what the heck is going to happen next?
God, no. I think, we're all learning by the moment what could happen. And, the convention's coming up in a few weeks. So I think the most important thing is this gives us a real new energy. I can tell you already from my phone and my texts going off, people are really excited about the new prospects here. And I think it's that kind of energy that's really going to put us in a great place for November.
So Kamala Harris, the presumptive candidate for the Democrat Party, she's going to be in Milwaukee tomorrow.
She is, and by all indications, from everything I have heard through my reporting, is that this event is still on. We have no public details yet about what it looks like.
Or
where?
Okay.
Milwaukee. We know Milwaukee, but in terms of any actual specifics, those are not out yet. White House officials, campaign officials are saying, listen, this is on, and clearly, this was planned before yesterday, but this takes on incredible significance. This will be her first public campaign event as an official presidential candidate, and as you heard Pocan saying, as we've seen in the last couple of hours, Democrats have immediately come behind and endorsed her. They're looking to not make this potentially messy and chaotic on the convention floor.
Well, not only are they lining up, they've raised something like $50 million in 24 hours. Those are big numbers.
So when you look at top Democrats, when you look at donors, they are trying to put this in place to essentially say, yeah, she's going to be our nominee. We're going to make sure this happens. And there's still the potential that this could be done virtually, as they were planning before, a virtual nomination ahead of the convention, which would have to happen in a couple of weeks, because 4 weeks from today, the Democratic convention begins in Chicago.
It just never ends. Matt Smith, political director with WISN. When we come back, I want to talk about what that VP pick might look like, and what are the talking points, and what is this discussion between this newly formed, newly unified Republican Party, and also now on the Democrat side. What does that look like? It's the Political Power Hour. I am Tracy Johnson in for Steve Scavidi on WTMJ.
The wait is over as the Wisconsin State Fair is officially here. Big races, food on a stick, and of course, cream puffs. But that's not all. Wisconsin's Afternoon News will be live, broadcasting from the Bank 59 studios from 3 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. Only here on News Radio 620 WTMJ.
Enjoy your ride. I'm WTMJ's Sandy Max. What makes senior living at Three Pillars so special? Let's hear from Three Pillars resident Lola.
I had seen a lot of retirement places. In a minute, I drove into the driveway coming into Three Pillars. I was sold. The grounds are just beautiful. The management are just incredibly kind people. That mood permeates the atmosphere to me, whether it's the staff, the people that serve it in the restaurant, and the residents themselves. It's just a lot of caring, kind people.
Schedule a tour today at threepillars.org.
A buck doesn't buy much unless you're spending it at Griffin. For just $1 over cost, you can buy brand new tires from us. This is Jim Griffin. Any major brand, $1 over our cost with free tire repair and lifetime rotation. We'll even show you the invoice to prove it. Our only requirements, we put them on for you. Buy one or the whole set. The dollar deal from Griffin. Milwaukee, Waukesha, Fort Atkinson, and Jefferson. Griffin. The buck stops here. The deals on tires don't. That's Griffin.
Not combinable with other tire offers.
Welcome back on this Monday morning. I'm Tracy Johnson in for Steve Scafidi on the Political Power Hour. We are joined by Matt Smith, political director for WISN, talking about the big news over the weekend with President Biden dropping out of the race, endorsing immediately Vice President Kamala Harris. It's inevitable that she is going to be the nominee for the Democrat ticket. But the questions are still swirling about who does that VP pick look like? I mean, and I've seen multiple reports, whether it's Gretchen Whitmer, governor from Michigan, whether it's Roy Cooper, governor of North Carolina. There's a couple senators in there. What are you hearing from the Democrats that you're talking to?
There's a ton of names being thrown out there, right? And listen, there's really no solid indication yet on when this decision will be made, how this decision was made. It was kind of like we saw with former President Trump last week here in Milwaukee. There was so much buildup in terms of when the running mate was going to be announced and chosen. And polling suggests that, listen, a vice presidential candidate is not going to necessarily make or break your campaign, right? It's going to reinforce what type of campaign you're running. And it's going to get a lot of attention. But in terms of what voters decide, a vice presidential pick doesn't necessarily put them over the edge or make them lose an election necessarily.
But when it comes to the timing of this, I mean, we're 3 weeks away from the convention. We're 100 and some days away from November 5th. Early voting starts in September. in a lot of states, some of these ballots are already printed, I'm hearing.
There's a deadline in Wisconsin. I believe it's September 3rd is the deadline to have your names in place to get those names on the ballot. So, yeah, listen, in terms of where we are in this moment, this is historic, and this is going to have to happen quickly. And whether we see something this week or next week, clearly, I'm sure her and her campaign, they have thought about this. There are conversations ongoing, I know today and in these few days, but it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out and how she rolls out that decision and what type of decision her and her campaign makes.
Well, and there are still a lot of people who don't really know Kamala Harris, and now that she's going to possibly bring an unknown vice president pick, there's going to be a lot of education happening here.
There is, and there's going to be a lot of attempting to define the vice president, both from the Trump campaign and from the Harris campaign, because you're right. Yeah, everyone knows she's the vice president. She ran, for president herself in 2020. But in terms of what this rollout now looks like and whether there's debates or what these events look like, it's going to be fascinating to see how both the Harris campaign and the Trump campaign are looking to capitalize on this moment.
Well, we've got a lot of enthusiasm. As we mentioned, $50 million raised. But when it comes to polling, I know one of the polls that we looked at was a poll done a couple of weeks ago, and it was about favorability.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris has very high unfavorable numbers. So you talked to Charles Franklin, and they're going to be rolling out a poll that not only looks at favorability, but also obviously the head-to-head matchup.
Yeah, so Marquette is going into the field on Wednesday with both a statewide Wisconsin poll and a national poll as well. What perfect timing to start to get these snapshots, right, on where everything stands. Because you're right, the most recent polling, which was before yesterday, a hypothetical matchup, showed that maybe she has a 1, 2, 3 point advantage over what Biden had, but still an incredibly close race when you look at national polls. I think the conventional wisdom is at this point, Biden stepping aside, her coming in tightens the race a little bit from where Biden was, and that was the major concern from Democrats. They started to see these swing state polls that, showed Trump blowing Biden out of the water. So I think this will tighten it, at least as we sit here. What happens in a week, in 3 weeks, in a month, in 3 months, your guess is as good as anyone's, right, Tracy?
Well, Matt, when it comes to the messaging, right, we're going to hear from Vice President Harris today, and we'll hear from her tomorrow in Milwaukee. When it comes to that messaging, you've spoken to Democrat strategists, you've talked to Republican strategists. Last week at the RNC convention, we heard that this was about the economy, this was about immigration. The Democrat platform is much different. How does Vice President Harris, now candidate Harris, talk about the issues in a way that really addresses the concerns of these swing states, right? You've got Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, very different than California and New York.
Yeah, and not only that, not only these swing states, but these 10, 20, 30,000 voters in Wisconsin that are going to decide this election, right? We're 47, 47, 48, 48, Republican, Democrat, and then you have this small group in the middle that's really going to decide this. And when you look at the polling among independents, among moderates, the economy, immigration, border security are top of mind. It's an issue that Democrats have to address, and they have to find a way to talk about it. And she's going to defend the Biden administration. The Trump campaign is going to go after the Biden administration on both of those issues, inflation, the economy, border security. So it's going to be fascinating to see if she takes any different approach than what President Biden did in terms of campaigning on these issues that are top of mind to voters in Wisconsin.
So just want to go back to some of the conversations you had with Mark Pocan. Yeah. I know that Congresswoman Gwen Moore, Senator Tammy Baldwin have all kind of lined up now and are supporting Vice President Harris. What concerns do you think they have about her candidacy, or are they just stepping in line?
Listen,
or the process.
I think the concerns are what they saw months ago in terms of polling that indicated that she was not going to do as well as President Biden. And there was this thought that that is one of the main reasons that Biden stayed in the race and decided to run for re-election. is because Vice President Harris, at least in the polling, did not compete as well as he did. Well, here we are today. And in terms of where we are, 4 weeks out from the convention, 3.5 months from an election day, to shove the sitting vice president aside is probably not the greatest look, right? And no one has come up to challenge her in the past 24 hours. And that's incredibly telling in terms of what the Democratic Party is now looking to do in an incredibly short amount of time ahead of the election.
Final question before we get to break. When we hear about the Democrat platform, a lot of it is focused on what do we need to do to beat Trump, right? Do you think it's going to be all about beating Trump, or is it going to be about selling a vision for the Democrat Party? What are you hearing?
I think both parties want to win, right?
At all costs.
The ultimate goal is winning for Republicans, Democrats, whoever you are. But in terms of that, it's going to be interesting to see what they lay out at their convention in terms of their priorities, kind of like we saw what happened this past week with Republicans, right? It's not only about winning, it's about presenting your vision for the future, which is in theory why you're running for president and why you're at the top of the ticket. So I think that will be fascinating to see as that develops, as we saw play out last week here in Milwaukee for Republicans.
Never a dull moment.
Never.
You are your phone is like constantly going off. Matt Smith, WISN Political Director. I'm Tracy Johnson, in for Steve Scafidi. It's 9:23 on WTMJ.
The National Weather Service has issued a tornado watch.
Go to a place of safety now. A tornado warning is in effect.
The danger in the thunderstorm alone is definitely there, with wind gusts towards 50 miles per hour and lots of lightning in the storm system.
Keeping you updated on the weather so you can keep you and your family safe with severe weather coverage on WTMJ. Sponsored by Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
Hey, this is Steve Scafidi for Advent. I had some snoring issues that kept my wife up at night. That led to poor sleep and a lot of tired mornings on the radio, and nobody wants that, trust me. Put it simply, my nose wasn't working the way it should. I decided to go to Advent for a quick 30-minute visit, one of their great facilities, talk to a bunch of their doctors. They really put me at ease. After a really simple sleep study at home, in my own bed, they determined the root cause of my problem had to do with my sinuses and nasal passages in my breathing triangle. I didn't even know I had a breathing triangle until I went to see Advent. After a short procedure done in office, I'm back to breathing well, and my wife and I are both back to sleeping through the whole night. The best sleep we've ever had, that could be you. If you struggle with restless nights like I did, take the time to see how Advent can help. To find out how breathing well and sleeping well can make your life and your nights a whole lot better, go to AdventKnows.com, schedule an appointment today. Because Advent knows, when you breathe well, you live better.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
This is Brian Wickert, owner of Wisconsin's own AccuNet Mortgage. I get that most home shoppers just go with their bank when it comes to getting pre-approved. But that's probably a mistake, because banks have a lot of overhead, like branches, fancy headquarters, and layers of management. That means their closing costs are typically $1,000 to $3,000 higher than AccuNet's for exactly the same rate. And that's not all. Bank pre-approval letters are usually weak and unconvincing, especially compared to AccuNet's rock-solid, fully verified pre-approval that provides a $2,000 guarantee to you and the seller. Our senior loan consultants will also look at every possible way to strengthen your offer and pre-approval in the eyes of that seller, especially if you're offering over the asking price. We even call the listing agent to reinforce what a great buyer you are. Banks don't do all that. Click on the blue button today at AccuNet.com and let our passionate mortgage pros help you win while you save a bunch of money, too. That's ACCUNET.com.
Baird has invested in the vitality of downtown Milwaukee for over a century. Hi, I'm Mary Ellen Stanek, president of Baird Funds. Baird is a world-class financial services firm. As one of downtown's largest employers, we believe in supporting the communities we serve. We're proud to call downtown our home, and even prouder to elevate our city's world-class amenities with a new convention center. Experience it for yourself. Go to MilwaukeeDowntown.com.
Welcome back on WTMJ. Boy, Matt, you are going to be hopping for the next couple of weeks here with all of the shifting sands. Never a dull moment here in politics in the United States and in Wisconsin. I want to move now to this. There's a actually right now, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle is testifying about the security measures that were in place or weren't in place in Michigan during the assassination attempt of candidate President Trump. What are Republicans telling you about this hearing and what they want to see going forward?
So listen, this was a significant step. This hearing is ongoing as we speak. The Secret Service Director on Capitol Hill, she has acknowledged that this was a major security failure in terms of what we saw a week ago in Pennsylvania for the assassination attempt and what happens next in terms of what was in place and what wasn't in place on that Saturday, and how in the world do we ensure that something like this does not happen again? This was all developing during the convention this past week here in Milwaukee. We saw that viral video. She arrived, the Secret Service Director was here. She was confronted by several Senate Republicans inside Pfizer Forum. I've talked with Senator Ron Johnson, Representative Steve Scalise, the House Majority Leader. I chatted with him. At this point, all of them are looking for answers, a serious investigation and a quick investigation in terms of what happened and how do we ensure this doesn't happen again. So listen, there have been calls by Republicans since last week for her to resign or be fired. That has not happened. We'll see how that plays out, politically speaking. But the larger issue, Congress and Democrats and Republicans have said they want to get to the bottom of this to ensure this doesn't happen again.
Well, a lot of folks have said that there's just a lack of staffing and perhaps that it's not the easiest thing in the world to have professionals at this level in every corner. So how do you reconcile this?
That's a good question. And that's also a question to turn back on Congress, right? The Secret Service will argue that they have been understaffed and under-resourced for years, especially when you look at presidential cycles. You have the convention here, which is top-level security event, right, in Milwaukee, top of the top in terms of preparation and planning for the Secret Service. You have the Democratic Convention. You have these presidential candidates who are asking for increased Secret Service protection just based on the threats they're hearing.
Yep. Cornell West just asked for Secret Service protection.
So the question is, what is the right balance, and how do we find that with funding and resources and priorities? Then it goes back to literally some of the simplest questions, like how did you not check the rooftop of a building that is so close to a former president?
So if she resigns, which many feel like she will resign, is that going to create peace, or do we need a further?
Yeah, it's a good question.
There's calls for a committee, a special committee to be formed to really not just get to the bottom of it, but does this turn out to be kind of a political issue rather than a practical issue?
For sure. I think everything turns into a political issue this day and age, right? Especially when Capitol Hill is involved. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out over the next couple of weeks.
More to come on that. All right. When we come back, we will talk about the RNC, a huge event here in Milwaukee. We are in studio with WISN Political Director Matt Smith. I am Tracy Johnson. ABC News is next.
This is a special report from ABC News. Race for the White House. I'm Sherry Preston. Republicans are airing a new line of attack against Vice President Kamala Harris, the likely choice to top the Democratic ticket. ABC's Stephen Portnoy.
A statement from the leading pro-Trump super PAC describes the vice president as a weak-on-crime prosecutor when she served as San Francisco's district attorney. The group also says Kamala Harris owns Joe Biden's open border. West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin says there ought to be a process to replace Biden on the ticket and that he sees Harris as too far left. But the Democratic Party is quickly coalescing behind her.
Now, the Democratic Convention Rules Committee holds a live-streamed public meeting on this Wednesday to decide exactly how they will pick a nominee.
The DNC's co-chair saying the plan will be transparent and fair to anyone seeking the nomination. And even though President Biden has endorsed Kamala Harris for the top spot, it is still up to the delegates to make that decision.
ABC's Andy Field in Washington. This is ABC News.
Citing Unlimited, WTMJ news time is 9:31. Happening right now, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle is testifying before the House Oversight Committee regarding the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. Let's take a listen right now.
Distinguished members of the committee. My name is Kimberly Cheadle, and I am the Director of the United States Secret Service. I appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today. The assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump on July 13th is the most significant operational failure of the Secret Service in decades, and I am keeping him and his family in my thoughts. I would like to offer my sincerest condolences to the family of Corey Comparator, a former fire chief and a hero who was killed in this senseless shooting. I would also like to acknowledge those who were injured in Butler, David Dutch and James Copenhagen, and I wish them a speedy recovery. I would be remiss if I did not also extend my condolences on the passing of your colleague, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Ms. Jackson Lee was always engaged in the oversight of the Secret Service, and her passing is a great loss to this body. The Secret Service's solemn mission is to protect our nation's leaders. On July 13th, we failed. As a director of the United States Secret Service, I take full responsibility for any security lapse of our agency. We are fully cooperating with ongoing investigations. We must learn
Again,
what
Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle testifying before the House Oversight Committee regarding the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. We'll have more on this story throughout the morning right here on WTMJ. Also happening today, Governor Tony Evers officially endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris as Vice President Harris begins her presidential campaign following President Biden's withdrawal from the 2024 race over the weekend. Vice President Harris will be in Milwaukee Tuesday for a campaign event. And a 6-year-old child from Milwaukee is dead from suspected child abuse. Police have a 33-year-old woman in custody in connection to the child's death. It is not known what relationship the woman has to the victim. Time for news about your money, the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. At this hour, all green for the majors. The Dow was down earlier this hour. Now they're up 89 points to 40,377. The NASDAQ up 219 to 17,946. And the S&P 500 is up 44 points to 5,549. Get an honest opinion of where you are financially and where you're headed. Work with a fee-only fiduciary. Start at annexwealth.com. Going over the roads, your WTMJ Johnson & Sons paving time saver traffic. Right now, just one incident. We've got a broken down vehicle. It's on the ramp from Car Ferry Road to 794 West. So just be mindful it is on that ramp as you're heading on to the freeway from Car Ferry. Other than that, though, the system is looking pretty good. No other major incidents or delays this hour. And your WTMJ forecast for today, mostly sunny, a low chance for some pop-up inland showers today, a high around 80, clear tonight and down to 66. More rain and storms are likely Tuesday with a high of 83, early rain Wednesday and 77, then nice Thursday and Friday, mostly sunny, highs in the mid to upper 70s. Right now in Kaukauna, sunny skies and 69 degrees, in New Berlin, sun and 71, and in Milwaukee, mostly sunny skies and 70 degrees. I'm Adam Roberts, signing Unlimited WTMJ News Times, 9:35.
It was a sobering headline. Social Security to run short by 2035. A possible 17% reduction in benefits. At Annex Wealth Management, we feel that Social Security is only one leg of the retirement stool, but it provides needed balance. It's time to stress test your retirement plan and move forward with guidance from the fee-only fiduciaries at Annex. Do it for you, your family, your legacy. Investment, retirement, tax, and estate planning. It only takes a few minutes to get the ball rolling. Head to annexwealth.com. Click the Get Started button.
Hi, I'm attorney David Gruber. After an accident, you need a trusted winning team on your side. For more than 30 years, Gruber Law Offices has helped Wisconsin families get the results they deserve. If you've been injured, call our firm today for a free consultation. We're available 24/7. Wisconsin's own Gruber Law Offices, proud partner of Euro Milwaukee Brewers. One call, that's all.
In this seller's market, even homeowners are trying to sell their own home. But more times than not, it doesn't work out like they'd hoped. And while homes like theirs are selling, and selling fast for over asking prices, their homes aren't. So what's your next best strategy? Well, if you're looking to relieve yourself of the stress of selling your own home and still get top dollar while getting the full service benefits that an experienced realtor can give you, then look no further. I'm Angela Calais with Benefit Realty, where 3.5 to 3.9% commission assures that you pay less for full service. Only 11% of those trying to sell their own homes actually succeed. And of those that do sell their own home, they sell on average for 26% less than agented properties. This often negates the savings they were hoping to get by doing it on their own. So why do it on your own when you have an experienced realtor that will give you full service at only 3.5 to 3.9% commission? Don't let your home sit while others are selling faster and at potentially better than asking prices. Call Benefit Realty for a highly experienced agent, and you'll pay less for full service.
Welcome back on WTMJ to the Political Power Hour. I am your host, Tracy Johnson, in for Steve Scafidi. We are joined in studio by Matt Smith, Political Director for WISN, and also joining us in the studio is Chris Hilmer. She is the President and CEO for the Wisconsin Restaurant Association. Both of these fine people were at the RNC convention last week, both in very different roles, but they were witness to what many say was a historic convention. I want to start with you, Matt. This was not your first convention.
No. I've covered several. I was in both Cleveland and Philly in 2016. 2020 was obviously weird and didn't really exist. And then, yeah, here we are today.
But being in your hometown, I mean, what was that like?
It was great. I mean, listen, the response from all of the delegates, I had so much fun talking to delegates from different states and out of states and say, hey, what do you think of Milwaukee, and what do you think of your experience? And there was a lot who were staying through the weekend and like looking excited to like get out to the lake shore and do something outside of the bubble once the security perimeter went down, because as you know, the week is just incredibly jam-packed for these delegates, from events to parties to being on the convention floor and all of this stuff that they actually have to do. They were excited to try some cheese curds and, get out and about and get out around town.
So when you compare this convention to 2016, both of them were President Trump's conventions for the Republican Party. He said that this was the best run convention that he's ever seen. How does it compare?
Yeah, listen, I think I heard the same thing from a lot of delegates and party leaders who were in town. And from the political perspective, this was more of an incumbent, right, running for re-election, as opposed to a new presidential candidate on the stage looking to accept the nomination. And what the party wanted to do politically is really hone in on unity. We heard that speaker after speaker to show, at least on the convention floor, a party united. And I think from all the reviews and talking with party leaders, I think they feel really energized. Republicans do, coming out of this convention unified around their ticket.
Well, and I know one of the reports suggested that this is the different new Republican Party. This is the party of Trump. I know they suggested other Republicans. Mitt Romney wasn't there. Liz Cheney, Paul Ryan. They represent, though, a different Republican Party. Did you talk to any of those kind of older school Republicans that maybe were concerned with what they saw in terms of unity around Trump?
Yeah, listen, I mean, I think those Republicans, that yes, they still exist. I don't think they were necessarily in the halls of Pfizer Forum or on the convention floor anymore. So at this moment, and with the selection of J.D. Vance, I think this solidifies that this is Trump's party, at least in the short term, and what the party is looking to do and rally around him. And this comes off the primary results, right? Like, take it or leave it for Republicans. Republican voters decided this, and this is where the party is now at, and they're unifying ahead of November.
No, it's fascinating to see the sound bites. Chris, I want to move to you. You were there in multiple different capacities. What did you see? What did you feel? This was probably your first convention?
It was. And what an exciting thing to see Milwaukee locally really shine. And it's, the politics happen inside of Pfizer Forum, but the hospitality happened outside. And we saw lots of people happy. I talked to senators, I talked to representatives, I even met the Ireland ambassador to the United States who was here. And everybody to a person were amazed by the hospitality, how kind everybody was, how friendly they were. And that's really what I care about, is how we come across to our guests, because we not only want them to come back either in a business capacity or in a vacation capacity, but we want future business to come as well. And I think that came across very clearly.
You represent the restaurants throughout the state of Wisconsin and had a huge role in this convention. One of the things that you had worked on was making sure that the bars could stay open until 4 a.m. And that was actually for the DNC, remind me.
We did it for both conventions,
Both conventions. And was that needed, do you think?
I think it was to give the bars and restaurants the maximum flexibility to be able to open based on where they were, where the delegates and where the business was. So not everybody stayed open till 4 o'clock in the morning, certainly, but they wanted that flexibility to be able to stay open, and that was delivered.
So on the whole, do you think that looking back, I mean, in the short term, there were a lot of restaurants that said, hey, I didn't get the business that I thought, but are they really taking a step back, hearing kind of the feedback to say, we're going to come back, we're going to make this about the long game? Are they on board with that, or are we going to be dealing with fallout from restaurants who are disappointed?
I think you're going to be in the short term dealing with some fallout. I do know, and it's a legitimate concern, that there were folks that staffed up, they were open, and nobody was there. So they had expenses, their labor, their supplies, and so on that they had in their facility. But we do know that one of the reasons why we wanted the convention to come here is that future long game. And that's going to come out in the wash in the long term. But in the short term, everybody still has to pay bills. So I think we're still going to hear that criticism.
Well, and the long game is really where we want to focus our effort. And every single person said, I had never been here before, but I am coming back. I heard from those in the South. They said, y'all are so nice. And it warmed my heart. All right. When we come back, more on the RNC convention. What were some of the moments that stood out? And can we keep this momentum moving for our state and our city? It's 9:43. I'm Tracy Johnson on WTMJ.
This is Brad Youngbooth with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local, veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company. We have two big humps in this business, right before summer and right after fall. And for us, that's when the lines are the longest. Folks usually choose to do their exterior work during those times, and what I'm trying to do here with this message is level out the flow of business so that we don't have to disappoint anyone come November and December because they were hoping to get their work done before the snow flies. I understand where the focus is during summer, but you know what? It really is a great time to get signed up for your exterior work, like siding and windows, because that's when the lines are the shortest, and it's the one time that we're pretty sure we're not going to get any snow. So if you're looking to get your work done, why put it off? The lines are shorter and we'll be ready. For your new roof, siding, window and door installation, or masonry work, call Semper Fi, because you can count on Semper Fi to keep you safe, warm, and dry.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry, Semper Fi.
From big tailgate parties to cozy dinners for two, the freshest ideas start with a stop at Century Foods.
Now through Wednesday, save on 6-pack 0.5-liter bottle or 7.5-ounce mini can selected varieties Coke products, 4 for $17. 48 ounces selected varieties Cedar Crust ice cream, $3.99. 4 to 12 count or 16-ounce selected varieties Halo Top ice cream or bars, $3.99. 45-ounce tub Imperial spread, $3.99.
Hey, why'd you throw my glass across the room?
I have to keep practicing.
The vase from Aunt Sophie?
I'm warming up in case I get to take them out at American Family Field. Read this.
Win the ultimate baseball fan experience at Century Foods?
You either get to throw out the first pitch, hold the finish line for the famous racing sausages, or be on the field during batting practice. My new TV!
Just doing a little batting practice of my own.
The ultimate baseball fan experience. Return the entry form found in the weekly ad to any Century by July 24th.
Siding Unlimited, named the best window installers, not just here, but in the whole USA. Get the best. Siding Unlimited, 3-time winner as America's best window installer. For windows, you call Siding Unlimited. First and directly, sidingunlimited.com.
Every business faces challenges, but complicated, expensive, and uncertain shipping shouldn't be one of them.
With USPS Ground Advantage from the United States Postal Service, you can avoid all the noise.
No more unexpected surcharges, hidden fees, or complex rate structures.
It's just easy, cost-effective, and dependable shipping. Tune your business's frequency to success and turn shipping to your advantage. Learn how at USPS.com/advantage. USPS Ground Advantage. Simple, affordable, reliable.
Welcome to Staples, young man.
Tomorrow's my big day.
Big day?
First grade.
Aw, well, Staples has crayons, markers, glue.
I need a laptop.
Oh, yeah, sure. With Staples Hot Deals, you can save up to $300 on select PCs for school.
Wait. The finances are Mom's department.
Right.
I'm looking for performance, like a Core i7 processor.
Boy, first grade has really changed.
Tell me about it.
Save big on tech for school with super low Staples Hot Deals. Right now, get up to $300 off select PCs at Staples. Ends 8/24.
Welcome back on WTMJ. Chris Hilmer, CEO of the Wisconsin Restaurant Association. During the break, we were talking about the the possible fallout with some of the restaurants because they weren't as busy during the convention as we thought. But you had explained kind of the timing of kind of the business and the pickup and all of that. Tell us about that.
So one thing we know is that this was a brand new convention for Milwaukee. So we didn't we kind of knew, but we didn't really know and intuitively be able to plan for exactly what the pattern was. Monday was rough for everybody. The delegates were in Fiserv Forum for 2 complete sessions, and then they came out and they had a short turnaround for dinner. And they didn't necessarily want to go outside the hard perimeter. They didn't know how hard it was going to be getting back in, so they really stayed inside. So those even in the soft zone really harmed them. But what they also did is, what I love about restaurateurs is they're innovative and they're entrepreneurs. They were looking at the patterns and they immediately adjusted. I talked to a number of them, and so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they changed their hours. They changed their mix. And like, okay, they're going to be more inside of Fiserv and inside the hard zone. But when they come out, that's when we need to get staffed up. So we saw differences on how they managed that because they learned.
Well, and there were a lot more people here on Wednesday and Thursday. I know the airport was much busier. The meetings got more intense and things like that. So, and also the natural flow of things. Not everybody goes out on a Monday night in Milwaukee. The other thing that really stood out to me is there was a lot of conversation about how crazy it was going to be. Stay away from downtown. It's going to be crazy. So, like, we kind of did this to ourselves in some ways. And then we were sitting there going, well, why isn't anybody there? Well, you told us it was going to be crazy. And I was there. It was amazing. But I also love crowds.
Yeah.
So it was amazing.
It was. And, and to your point, a lot of employers kept their employees at home. They didn't have a lot of people down here. But the other thing is I saw a lot more activity happening on Wednesday and Thursday because people learned I can get into the soft zone. I want to see what this whole thing is all about. And even though they couldn't get into the hard zone, they did come out a little bit more. And so I think you saw that natural progression of, okay, we don't know what this is about. We're learning and growing. And now I can go down there and take advantage of what's going on.
It was something to behold. Speaking of something to behold, Matt, you were there the entire time and you talked to everybody out there. Were there any moments that you think stood out to those who were in the building?
Listen, I mean, I think politics aside, and obviously this was a political convention and it was a moment for these delegates, but I think for everyone, I think the moment Monday night when former President Donald Trump came out, this was 48 hours after the assassination attempt. This was the first time that people saw him in public. I think that's a moment that happened in Milwaukee, in this key swing state, that regardless of politics, that was one of those kind of defining moments in our political history coming off of Saturday that I think a lot of people will remember and won't forget that happened here in Milwaukee.
It was so unexpected, I think, and the fact that he didn't speak for 3 days leading up to the convention. There was one person's job who had to have the camera on former President Trump, and they would do the side by side. That was really interesting to see for viewers at home or those who were in the convention hall. But the recaps that you're doing and so many people are doing on that convention, I think really puts Milwaukee in such a great light.
Yeah, and I think as we've all been talking this half hour, just the reception from people who are here from out of town. Ohio's governor was at a Brewers game and loved the cheese curds. And, you just hear the stories about people, where they were traveling, what they were doing, what they were eating, what they were drinking, bags being played outside on just outside in the Deer District. So, a very Wisconsin feel that was brought inside to all of these visitors.
All right. When we come back, we'll talk about what that next opportunity is for Milwaukee and for Wisconsin. And then, Matt, what you have coming up this week. It's 9:50 on WTMJ. I'm Tracy Johnson, in for Steve Scafidi.
There are a lot of interesting people and traditions in Wisconsin. 1 hour of covering culture and creativity in our state is simply not enough. I'm Sandy Max of WTMJ's What's on Tap with the happy news that my show is now expanded to 2 hours. So please join me weeknights from 6 till 8 for updates on festivals, films, food, music, theater, and other ways we love to make the most of Wisconsin life. What's on Tap with Sandy Max weeknights now from 6 till 8 on WTMJ. And subscribe to the What's on Tap podcast to listen anytime you want.
Hey, it's WTMJ, Steve Scafidi for Universal Windows Direct. For every 2 windows you buy, get 2 free. Buy 2, get 2. Buy 4, get 4. Call 414-410-2000. Schedule your free in-home estimate today. For every 2 windows you buy, get the next 2 free, plus 0% financing for 60 months, 5 years. Restrictions apply. Tell them I told you to call. Get an additional $250 off your project for the last windows you'll ever need. Go to uwd.com. Like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
He's making us, his people, into what his Father promised we would become, a light for a world that is crying for help. Jesus came to make God's light shine on us, so that in us, all people might see the face of God.
Dr. Michael Ziegler asks, who will come to know God this week because of you? A message about connecting others to God through our connections to them. This week on the Lutheran Hour.
Sunday mornings at 6:30 on WTMJ.
Church and Chapel Funeral Homes. The best time to plan a funeral is when you don't have to. Church and Chapel Funeral Homes. There's one near you.
This is Richard Salinas, registered nurse with Rejuvenex Arthritis Clinics, and I want to talk about exactly what we do. When you come here, you're going to get 2 shots with 2 very small needles. One will be a medication called Toradol, which is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, completely different from a standard steroid or cortisone injection. This medication is safe and a great pain reliever. The other will be hyaluronic acid, which is a naturally occurring fluid found in all of our joints. What hyaluronic acid does is it helps recoat the inside surfaces to provide cushioning and lubrication. It helps slow down the osteoarthritis process to a point where patients may not need surgery. All of this combined with using our state-of-the-art Ultra G machine developed by NASA has produced profound results. What we do works. And the best part about this is that insurance covers most of our patients' treatments. Go to Rejuvenex.com to request your free pain evaluation.
Celebrate 42 years of tradition at Milwaukee's original house party. Join us on Milwaukee's beautiful lakefront, July 26th, 27th, and 28th for authentic German food, music, beer, and dancing. Experience the excitement of the Glockenspiel, Dachshund Derby, Culture Village, Mardi Gras Show, Trauchenschau, Sheep's Head Tournament, and much more. For more information, tickets, and admission discounts, visit GermanFest.com. Don't miss the fun. See you at GermanFest.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
Welcome back to the Political Power Hour, the fastest hour in radio. I swear, it's the fastest hour. You know, the one thing we didn't talk about with regard to the convention was the earned media and the opportunity for the future. I am still hearing on national news, Milwaukee, in reference to the RNC convention. And that is, I mean, people pay big money to have their name on TV and on the radio. This is going to go on for a very long time.
I mean, media members from around the world were here.
There were more media here than delegates.
You saw images, you saw images of Milwaukee everywhere. And I think, as you know, this is only going to be fruitful.
Absolutely. And what we're really excited about is that future opportunity. We have demonstrated and proved we can dance with the big boys. We've got a beautiful new convention center. We put it off without a hitch. There were no problems. Everybody was happy. And that word of mouth that Milwaukee's a great place for a convention, that is going to come back to us in spades.
Well, and we're so positive on it. It's like, how can we be so positive? It just was such a great week, whether you're Democrat or Republican or nothing. I mean, it was just amazing. Matt, any final thoughts? And then what do you have coming up this week?
Oh, man. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 12 hours. It's going to be interesting to see the vice president roll out, specifically tomorrow when she comes here to Milwaukee, her first political event as a presidential candidate. There's going to be a ton of pressure and a huge national spotlight once again on Milwaukee and Wisconsin. So just to see how that all plays out and what we hear from folks in Wisconsin, I think is going to dominate the storyline short term, at least here over the next couple of days.
Well, and then of course we've got the Secret Service director who continues to testify. We'll see what happens with her. Many people calling for her to step down. And then what are the other implications in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I think Congress is going to call for more hearings, more investigations. I know Senator Ron Johnson has been involved in that, but I think we're going to see that start to play out this week just in terms of the scope of what Congress is looking to do and how fast they're looking to get this done.
Well, and then, of course, the polling that you talked to Charles Franklin on.
Yep, Charles Franklin going in the field with a Wisconsin poll on Wednesday. That'll take some time to obviously go and do the poll. But the first major poll in Wisconsin, Marquette, the gold standard in polling, ranking in the top 5 of best polling in the country. So that's going to be an important snapshot to see what Wisconsin voters are thinking at this moment, at least.
Well, we'll have to tune in. Thank you for being here, Matt Smith, political director for WISN, Chris Hilmer, the president and CEO for the Wisconsin Restaurant Association. Tune in tomorrow. We're going to have in studio with us Rick Essenberg. He's the president for Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. Again, whatever will we talk about? The ball is always bouncing. Stay tuned for Jeff Sherman, The Upswing. It's 9:57. It's been great to be with you on WTMJ.
Vince Vitrano for Absolute Comfort HVAC and Electrical. I'm joined by Nicole. She and her husband Brent own